Hey Kelly, have you ever found your gas canister isn't working? Or you just forgot to pack your stove? This Hobo Stove is a great hack. Before we get into it, if you're a fan of the outdoors, seasoned or unseasoned, smash that like button, subscribe and all that hype. Grab your pack, let's have a look, shall we?
If you search the Hobo can stove online, you'll find a variety of different versions of this method. There's different ways of doing it. You can use either cans, i.e. beer can, soft drink can, bean cans, those big dog food cans. There's a lot of different ways of doing it. I'll explain why we choose this design in particular and why it works for us. But basically, so long as you understand the principles of combustion, you can come up with all sorts of different designs. So the basic principle of combustion is obviously fuel, air, oxygen if you like, and heat. So long as you have these three factors involved, you've got yourself a cooker. The reason that we've chose the design that I have chose is because it's extremely versatile in that if this gets damaged, anywhere you go, you can find a can, whether it's a soft drink can, a beer can, they're on sides of roads, you find them discarded in parks, woodlands, you name it, there's normally a can knocking about somewhere. So even if I make one and it gets damaged, it's no big drama, I can just make another one. So I'm going to show you now how we put this one together. First, before I start, you're best off taking this middle section out first. It's the easiest one to get out first. You don't want to cut this up because then it gets too loose and you're going to crumple the entire can trying to get this bit off. Now when you get this bit off, you want to try and get as close to this rim as you can. Pardon the pun. So I'll start just by wiggling it a little. So next thing is to cut this can so that we can make it a bit smaller, because that's a real big can for fuel. I normally measure it about 3 of my fingers. That's the depth I want the can stove to be, is about 3 of my fingers. So I'm going to measure it about there. I know that that's at the bottom of that ribbon. A good way to do this, by the way, so that you can try and stay as straight as possible, is when you're looking at the can, look directly above it as you're cutting. It's easier to see you're going straight if you're doing it like that. What I do for the last bit is use a pair of scissors to finish it off. Ta-da! You can also use some scissors to smarten up your little bits that you didn't get. Now, this bit needs to sit in there like that. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking to match this to just below this rim. And I want this bottom rim to sit here inside the can. So that's the distance I need to take it to, which is about there. For this one, I'm going to use the scissors because the knife's going to make it messy. Now, in order to make this sit in there and create the chambers that's required for the gas to escape, we're going to need to turn this into a flower. Now, there's a bit of a trick to this. This top rim here, you want to make a very small dent in. If you put your fingers inside the can to help support the can, and you can make, actually I'll use the scissors because it's easier to press against. And then you just make a little dent on that rim. Now you don't want to make it too big and go all the way up to the top. You just need a little dent there. Then with that dent, I can then turn my hands around the other way and create a bit of a flower using that dent. Actually, I'm going to go with the scissors again because I can use my fingers. So we're just crimping it. So now we've got a chamber that follows up to this. And I'm going to do that all the way around, roughly a finger space apart. And then you'll end up with one area slightly bigger if you're like me. That's a good thing for what I'm going to show you. So basically, when you look at it that way, you've got these little crimps. You can make them a bit more crimped if you wish, make them a bit deeper. Like this. Now where you've got your biggest gap in all of these little dents around here, the one with the biggest gap, you want to create yourself a little flue hole. Like I said, remember the combustion. Well, your combustion needs this if you're going to put anything on top of it, because you need to be able to pull the air into the can. Now you've got to be careful doing this. If you press too hard and you make this hole too big, your fuel burning extremely fast. So just a little hole like this, which should be sufficient. So now that will sit in there like that. And you should have this little relief just here to here, so that when you put your fuel in the bottom, and you make sure your fuel only comes to about here inside, and then it should burn up through these and you can put your pot on top. Now, just as another little tip, when people talk about fuel, the people often use methylated spirits and a number of other things. Just for the record, we use nail varnish remover for this, because nail varnish remover is half the price of methylated spirits. So why pay all that money for methylated spirits? And also, you can find nail varnish absolutely everywhere. Nail varnish remover is everywhere you go. Premier, chemists, newsagents, you name it. Do you know what? We've even found nail varnish remover in garages, petrol garages, believe it or not. So I find that it's easier to get hold of. It's half the price. And of course, when you're burning with this, the bonus to having this can stove is when you've finished using your fuel and you've put it out. By the way, to snuff this out, you do want to use a pot or something to put over it, because then it's got no oxygen and it will put the flame out. Once you've put the flame out, and God, make sure it's out before you do what I'm about to show you, you can take this off, pinch the corner to make a funnel, and pour it back into your bottle. Now, the only problem with that is you don't get a lot of reruns on it, because obviously it's burning the flammable chemical in the nail varnish remover, so the acetone. So the acetone will be slightly less, and it will get more and more temperamental the more you reuse the fuel. So I would suggest, if you're going to do that, what we tend to do is we have a spare empty fuel bottle that we use for our secondary fuel, for when we've got tough times and we can't afford to replace or buy any new fuel. We've got that to turn to. So that's the Hobo can stove. Now, there is a version online of this. Your commercial version is a Trangia. Mod will tell you all about the Trangia.
So yeah, the Trangia stove. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure some of you guys may use them and may swear by them, but I don't. I've had them explode on me. I've had them explode in our porch area for the tent, and it's, you know, it's puckered the tent. Really dangerous for us, and they just clog up for us, you know. For you guys, maybe not. But why are we going to use something like that that's fairly expensive, and the fuel for it is really expensive, when we've got near enough a free option? You know, all you're literally paying for really is the acetone, and you can get that on Amazon and, you know, for real cheap. So why not? Or go to your local Boots, pharmacy, chemist, anything, Tesco's, Sainsbury's, Co-op, whatever. Your stores are endless for the fuel that you require. And bonus, it costs a bit more, but even if it says acetone free, that seems to burn drier. It's strange. I don't know how it works, whatever, but it burns well. Sometimes it can be a little over the top, but well worth it. And you know, the Hobo Stove, Trangia, any sort of burner like these, they all work under the same principle. And it's just about utilising it to the best of your abilities and for what your adventure actually needs, right? So have a look, make your own, play around, post, tag us in it. Let's see what you can come up with. Happy hopping.